everyone. My name is Yusuf Rahman, and I'm a student of architecture in the School of Design in Shanghai Jiaotong University. And I'm going to do a presentation about my paper, which is called Using Underutilized Spaces to Increase Urban Vibrancy in Nehru Place. So I know it sounds a bit complex, but I will try to make it as simple as possible for everyone. So there is this notion in the construction industry, for example, when we have to provide housing, architects usually provide housing outside the cities. So my research, my motivation for my research was to use the already existing infrastructure and resources that we have. Yeah, so I will start just a little with a little introduction about my site, and then I will just explain along the way. So Nehru Place is a business district, and it was planned to be the biggest business district in Delhi. It is located in the south of Delhi, which is like a really posh area. But still, even though it is located by some really important landmarks, it has had its fair share of problems because during the daytime, it's a bustling commercial center. But by the evening, it becomes really gloomy and deserted because there's a sharp decline in the number of visitors, in the number of people that are present at that place, which starts to attract illegal and criminal activities. And also, it is really unsafe for women. So this is actually related to urban vibrancy. So urban vibrancy, as the name suggests, it's um, how lively a place is. For example, how do we interact or how do we feel in a certain place? And it's about the emotions of the residents in a certain place. So, and urban vibrancy has really real life effects on our lives, and we don't know about it because in a low vibrant area you can expect that that place will have decreased prosperity because people will not want to spend time there, decreased visual appeal because we do not like to spend time at deserted public spaces, and decreased social capital, which means that bonds between humans, social ties between people will not be created. But there are two built environment factors that can help us improve urban vibrancy. So in an urban sprawl setting, if we increase the density of the buildings, then we can increase urban vibrancy. And the second is mixed use design. Mixed use design is a type of concept in which different functions such as housing, healthcare, offices, shops, they are all intertwined, and really they are in close proximity, so that we stop our over reliance on automobiles, and it is at a walkable distance, because at a walkable distance people start to have a real connection with their environment, which they do not have in a car. So there are five variables which can be used to calculate urban vibrancy in a certain place. There are five variables. The variables which are color coded red had negative value, so they reduced vibrancy, and the one which has a green color is the positive variable which has increased vibrancy. So I will just briefly tell you all about this. So tar area is basically a space which is not which cannot be used by the residents. So there was a high tar area in my site. Then the second thing is mesh. So mesh is like a block, how big a block is, and smaller blocks are known to be more walkable and more pedestrian friendly, and they are known to increase happiness in people. And so there was a high mesh value in Nehru Place again. And gamma index refers to how well a site is connected. So again, it is measured on a scale of 0 to 1 with um, and the value was towards the lower end. And the number of subway station entries is important because that tells us how accessible the site is. So this was the only positive variable. And the last one is the balance index. So there should be, for a dynamic neighborhood, there should be a balance between housing and commercial activity and healthcare and all these other functions. So there was again a disproportionate ratio between these functions. So all in all, the result was low vibrancy. So now the question arises, how can we increase vibrancy? So the answer is underutilized spaces. These are spaces all around us. We tend to neglect it. For example, it can be a parking lot, it can be a rooftop. So as the name suggests, this is a place where more functions can be accommodated. So a space which can be used to more potential. So in my site, there were 4 types of underutilized spaces. Void spaces, which means I will explain it in the next slide. Rooftop spaces, redundant infrastructure. Redundant infrastructure means infrastructure which, due to some policy mistakes, have been redundant and not being used to the full extent. And wet spaces, which means a triangular space which has a lot of negative space which cannot be used totally. So void spaces essentially means that there is nothing built above it. So in my site, there are 2 void spaces. Both of them are being used for surface parking. And we can add easily blocks of housing above it. That will be a win-win situation, because there's a sharp decline in the number of people visiting Nehru Place. And adding a housing block will maintain the density of the people all around the day. And also there are some researches done which suggest that underprivileged people, they want to live near the city center, because outside this city in the outskirts, there's not a complete ecosystem. For example, they would have to travel miles to get basic groceries and all that. So to sum up, my proposal was to inject housing in the void spaces, and the rest of the underutilized spaces can provide the necessary facilities that are important for housing. For example, community spaces, spaces for people to buy food, groceries, and there are a lot of, because this has a lot of commercial footprint in the site. So there are a lot of food hawkers who are informally just tugged to the side. They also have a say in our cities. So the wet space would be the best for food hawkers. And these were some of my references. And do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Yusuf, for a very interesting topic here again. I really appreciate your work. And then this urban vibrancy, because you have suggested on the space, unutilized spaces, specifically for the housing, for
Yes.
the correct.
Yes.
I have a question. This can be any other thing for education.
Yes, yes. I chose housing because that was necessary for this place. But essentially, I wanted to create an approach which people can use. For example, we have so much of rooftop spaces which are not being used in our cities. But for example, if there is a flood, we can provide emergency housing on the rooftops. But we are not doing that. And this is just an example on top of my head. And yeah.
Because yeah, it's also one way or another way, because this unutilized area or unutilized spaces could be anything, could be
Yes.
used for education, could be used for the health sector, could be used for any recreational things. But you
Definitely.
have to you have choose for the residential area. It could be
Yes.
used for residential. One another thing, you use the term there, tara.
Yes, tar area.
Tar area is
Yes.
you mean that abandoned area?
Yes, like areas which have no use in a resident's life.
Like
Those are tar.
there are some spaces which been abandoned in
Yes,
architecture
those
or
also
any.
count for tar area.
Yes, because in engineering specifically we call them abandoned.